other crate on board. Let us skipper in his office.
Alderney, here we come.
Just about. Gotta be splashy. Out before.
Outbound 4-4, thank you.
There's the wreck. She's showing. So basically just looking for the buff. Oh, here it is. Just here, look. Just under the water here. About 4 foot down.
Right. The bobber's just coming up to the surface. Tide's still running about 1.2, 1.3. And I would say in about 20 minutes you'll be diving.
Lovely.
If I was going in, I'd be in about 10 minutes. Soon the bobber
You would.
hits the surface.
As soon as you see that, you're on it.
Yeah.
You're a lot more streamlined than us.
Well, I don't have so much clutter hanging off me like a Christmas tree. When you guys go in the water, you do resemble Christmas trees. Just a little bobble on the top of the head would that be handy. But anyhow, let's hope we have a nice safe dive and see how we go.
Yep.
3 hours 40.
Yeah. Still a good lick of time though.
Shows how savage the tide is up here.
1.2 knots.
Is that all? She's dropping away nicely. Reminds me of Jaws, that. We're going to need a bigger boat.
Alderney Coast Guard, and Margaret K on 74.
Alderney Coast Guard.
Good afternoon. Just to let you know, up from Guernsey, diving a wreck in the race for POB. Probably be departing back for Guernsey in about 1 hour's time, so I'll give you a call.
Margaret K, Alderney Coast Guard. Yeah, received. Yeah, thank you for calling. Yeah, we'll speak to you later.
Thank you. You do look like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, there's too much on there.
Okay, when you're ready. As you can see, the bobbler's quite slack now. Bleeds the air out of his dry suit. And off he goes.
Welcome back to part 2 of this adventure of the mystery shipwreck of Alderney. As we hit the bottom, we figure out that it's not as good as the first dive, but it's workable. It's slightly darker, but the good thing is we've actually managed to get to the bottom just as the tide slackened off. So this is my sketch. This is JP Fallay's age 9 3/4, and we're going to do a swim to the bow area and then a swim to the stern, and in between we're going to take a good look at the engine, try and get some information off of it. As soon as I hit the bottom, I managed to have a look back at these axles here. We're about midship, probably slightly further forward than midship, and you can see here some old axles connected to something originally, and you can see in the middle here that it's broken off. Potentially the superstructure on it was made of wood, so now it is actually gone. You'll notice I put my hand on quite a few things throughout the dive. This is on purpose. What I'm doing is I'm trying to gauge it, so I know the length of my index finger is about 4 inches, so I can quickly gauge by looking back at the video, see how long stuff is, or wide. This is another object, unsure what it is, potentially the inside of a thrashing machine or a chaffing machine or something like that. Definitely agricultural. So we'll get another good look at this. Bear in mind, I don't know what this shipwreck is when we are filming this. I have no idea. So this is a dive just to go down and try and film some stuff. We also unravelled this story to the people of Alderney. We thought it was best for them to hear the story first and also see the video first. So this was first released in Alderney. We went up there and done a good talk to, I think it was 2 lots of 60 people, 2 sittings, about hour and a half each one, and we also had our governor up there, which was really good. And we done this talk for the Henry Euler Trust, which is a trust which does stuff based around maritime history, so it worked out perfect for us. It gave us a good place to go up and do the talk inside their cinema. Let's take a look at all this stuff here. It's all large wheels. I mean, this thing's got to be 3 foot high. You can see all sorts wrapped in between. So you notice a lot of it's all stacked on top of each other. We believe the larger stuff, the agricultural stuff that's underneath this, was on the bottom layer, and there was another intermediate layer or deck in between, which had these long bars on. We're unsure what these bars are. Potentially they could be fence posts. If it's agricultural, kind of makes sense. We'd love to find out what they are. We have got our feelers out to a couple of historians, and they're going to try and figure out what they are. Same with these. There's long lengths of bar, about 4 foot long, with loops in the end. Like I say, we're completely unsure. We are doing this dive, and we're really sort of, this is the dive we're looking at, all the little bits and bobs. So typical me, I was meant to put a weight on the end of the shot line, so I've had to go back to the shot line again. Just checking out the height of all this stuff. This has got to be at least 10 feet deep. It's stacked right up. This round tube in the middle was one of the supports which held the deck up, and the weight of it has basically crushed it down. So we're now heading towards the bow area, and you can see Paul and Matt's lights. So I'm probably about 5 minutes behind them on this dive. Our dive, we agreed that Matt would shoot to the bow, I would film the centre of the ship, and then he would leapfrog me and go to the stern of the ship. So the ship's quite large. This is about where we started getting excited. You can see Matt and Paul starting to get excited because we can see a little bit of the cargo here sticking out. This is a portable steamer, and you can just see the rear axle of it. Matt's actually shining down the length of it. Unfortunately, this one's covered over, so we can't get a good look. This part of the hold seems to have large boxes and again wheels, plenty of wheels, and also some of this cabling that's hidden right down in the bottom. Below this you can see black lumps, that's coal, and we believe this isn't coal, bunkering coal, this is cargo coal, and it's quite evenly stacked. Anyone that knows anything about shipwrecks, and especially shipwrecks are in the tide, this coal will probably wash out. It's a lot lighter than a normal stone, a conventional stone, and it does move very freely. We have now swapped on to Channel Island diving's footage now. This is Matt LeMate's, so I will explain when it swaps between footage, because Matt needs credit for this. There's some really good filming, to be honest. Just check out all the boxes to the right there. We don't know what's in them. Some sort of agricultural spares, I'm guessing. So I think Paul's getting a bit excited because he can see something below, potentially another traction engine, or the same as what we've seen everywhere else. So portable steamer. Just to the right here you can see the bollards we tie up to the quay, and as we swim forward you'll see these spare wheels. So there's quite a few here. These potentially might have been on the higher deck to where we've seen the portable steamers. Potentially, we're unsure. And to the left here, this large bit of machinery is the winch. So it would have been a derrick here for loading all this stuff on. So as Matt drops over this bulkhead inside the hold, he's now going to drop down a couple of meters, and this is what you see on the scans, or the side scan that was taken. You can see the ribs of the side of the ship. So you can see the turn of the bilge to the bottom left of the screen here, with a stringer running forward. To the right we have the side of the hull, the gunwale, and a little bit of the deck, if you look carefully, just sticking perfectly up. So it's basically snapped sideways. It's laying on the seabed on its side. So as we slowly head towards the bow area, which we haven't really fully explored properly due to the depth and the time constraint, not just the time constraint with the tide, it's also the time constraint with being at depth. This is probably 20 minutes slack water, and when it starts pulling very hard. So this bit that's standing up could be the deck, could be the side. I probably think it's more like the side, and maybe the fair lead tube is holding it up. Again, more coal right near the front of the ship. Yes, it could have washed forwards, but we strongly believe that was cargo. So it's time for Matt to turn around and head back towards the shot line. He's come down the starboard side of the ship, and now he's going to come back down the port side of the ship. Again, plenty of wheels, plenty of coal, plenty of bits and bobs. Due to the age it's been here, it's well and truly smashed up. To be honest, the location it's sitting in, I think anything would get smashed up. It's pretty savage here, to say the least. So Matt again is at the turn of the bilge. This is the bottom of the mast, or the loading derrick. This is the side of the ship, and the bit that's sticking up vertical is probably a slight bit of the deck, and above that would be the gunwale. Again, swimming back towards this large bulkhead that's slowly folding forwards with the weight that's behind it, and to the left is all the spare wheels. And then we find also there's another large deck winch here, which we've seen on the opposite way out. But for me, this is one of the best sights on the whole wreck. This is one of the more intact portable steamers, and this is where it starts getting all exciting for us, because I don't believe there's anywhere else probably in the world that you'd see stuff like this. Yes, there's trains on the Thistlegorm and stuff, but the stuff that's here hasn't been tampered or touched by anyone. And we just find there's also one to the left here. This is the rear of it. This is the engine that's on top. This one's even got the smoke box on the front and the bit of the funnel. This little peg sticking out the side here would have had a flywheel on it, which would have run the leather straps, which would have been the, I suppose, a very early form of a power takeoff. And on top here you can just see the engine. Plenty more stuff that's laying around. Again, we're back to these big long tubes. They're not railway tracks, they're too short. They're the wrong profile. I think they're fence posts, but I'm happy to be proved wrong. And here's the third portable steamer, and this is from the stern area. So this is the footage you've seen from my footage about 5 minutes ago. This is Matt behind it having a good look. And you would expect a conger to be living in that hole, but there is no eels in there at all. In fact, there's very little life on this shipwreck. Some small wrasse, and that's about it. So that's the centre of the ship. Now we're going to swap back onto my footage, and I'm going to start heading towards the centre of the ship, the heart of the ship, have a look at the boilers and the engine. This is the front of that portable steamer. I'm just looking down to just see how deep it is, see if there's anything lower than it, and have a look at the front. All these portable steamers have got different profiles, different front plates and stuff, so just trying to see if there's anything on it I could see. So these fence posts, or whatever they are, run from the whole width of the ship, and they're probably maybe 2 or 3 lengths going astern from here. So I'll just take my time to have a look down inside this hold precariously, because it looks like everything's about to collapse in. Again, as it's enclosed and it's protected, there's quite a bit of coal in here as I'm pointing to it. Some big chunks, that's anthracite coal, probably the highest quality. And look at all this stacked up. This is literally about to fall over. I'm sure if this was side on to the tide, it probably would have gone by now. Here we go, it's me and Paul heading into the heart of the ship. I'm currently swimming down the starboard gunwale, if it was there. These are the 2 large boilers. As I mentioned in the previous film, the thing that's weird about these is they're actually transverse on the ship. They're facing in towards each other, not down the length, which is quite weird. For me, it's weird. I've never actually seen a shipwreck like this, but I'm sure there is other ships that are like this. Rudimentary build, very large rivets on it and straps tying it together. So kind of guessing it's a low pressure boiler, given the crudeness of it. So we swim up over the top of these boilers, and I'll have a quick check down. One of the stoke holds is closed, the other one's open, which is quite weird because you would expect both of them to be open. They might have been in the process of shutting the boilers down once they'd hit the rocks, or whatever had happened, because we're still unsure what had happened. Or it might have been going slow in the fog, and I actually dropped down on power. When you drop down on power, you want less pressure. Less pressure means you don't need as much coal to be burnt, and you just slow the whole boat down a little. So you close off one of them. So as we are here, we are to the fairly early type of engine. As I mentioned before, it's a 2-cylinder. Again, just having a look down, see how deep it is, see if there's anything there. And this time my goal on this dive was to have a good look at this, to have a little look, see what it is, see if I can see a name plaque or something. I know it's asking a lot. So I look at this and I think this looks like a wine bowl jammed in the side of the engine, but it isn't. It's probably some sort of greaser or oiler. So 1-cylinder, 2-cylinder, trying to get a rough guess on size, for piston size, piston diameter. Very hard, but I've guessed about 30 inch and about 60 inch. So you can see us now, we're right in the centre of the image, just behind the boilers where the engine is. And again, another cargo, going port to starboard. It's quite a bit. And also, there's a load of grindstones. These would have been stacked up nice and not in a nice line, but now they seem to be in a bit of disarray. They start rolling everywhere. So again, just having one good look at it. Come down to have a look at these grindstones. It's my trick again, just putting my hand on top of it. What I do is I put my middle finger in and then I measure it towards my elbow. So when I get back to the surface I can measure that quite easily. I guessed around about 3 foot. Just checking my time, making sure I'm not running over my bottom time. And just put my hand on here. So I know it's about 5 inches that. And this is an air chute that's going downstairs, or a ventilator. These ventilators would take air down to cargo holds which have coal inside. Some coal's gassy and it needs to be ventilated properly so it doesn't combust. So I was having a good old look around these. And we also come across another set of winches. Not quite sure what type this is. Looks more like a cross T on a derrick or something like that. Just have a look over the top here and look at these. You can see a box full of differential cogs. Quite rudimentary, but quite nice to see a box just laying there. And look how close the cargo is stacked to this, alongside this gunnel. It's right alongside. As we swim further astern, now we're in the, I'd say we're probably underneath where the poop deck would have started, and we come into another 2 portable boilers, and again loads of agricultural gear. Not quite sure what it is. I hope someone can spot it and let us know. And this looks like to be the back, and here we go, we got some rods that were running forwards and backwards towards the little bit which would have a flywheel on to do the power takeoff. So this one's missing the smoke box at the front, and this large tunnel, this is protecting the flywheel, protecting people going into the flywheel. So as the ship's got one on the port side, also look, and they've worked out the load, and I've got one on the starboard side as well. See the front axle on this one's ripped off. This would have been the smoke box at the front. Again, the engine's come off of this one and it's fallen on the floor. So now we're right back towards the stern. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump onto Matt's footage from Channel Island diving. We've gone right to the stern as far as we can. So this is where the debris field finishes. We're not quite sure what this is. Could be some sort of steering or a rudder post of some sort. It's not the drive shaft, and we haven't seen a propeller. The propeller might not be with it. It might have struck a rock and lost the propeller. Just to the left here is the drive shaft, so we know there's no propeller connected to the end as far as we can see. And I think this is an auxiliary steam steering assembly. Matt comes straight back over the top, and this is the end of the stern, the prop shaft tunnel. I should say the the protection tube of it anyway. I guess about 2 foot wide, about 3 foot deep. And this is the steamer to the left, the portable steamer I filmed just before. And then there's one also to your right. Matt just takes his time to look down again. Coal right down the bottom. This is the derrick, which would have the winch for the derrick, which would have gone mop from the bottom. Just as I swim over here, I have a look, and there's these like 2 coils of cable. It almost looks like they've just been put there yesterday. Loads of cable, galvanised cable, and it seems to have stood the test of time. There goes the winches. And I just want to have a little look around here to see what else cargo there is. 120 bar of air. So I'm on my small gear at the moment, because you've got to be compact in tide like this. So I've got the smaller gear in, even though it's a twin sets, it's twin sevens. If you look underneath here, you can see black transfer wear, which is very typical of up the north of England, around about Newcastle, places like that. So I just took a little bit of a snapshot of that and then carried on. So now I'm getting towards the end of my dive. I'm fine on air, but what I'm doing is I'm starting to run out of bottom time. So we swim back over the evaporators and all the other bits and bobs for this double compound engine. Just taking my time at the moment. Notice the tide has started to push. I'm swimming into it, but you can see it was screaming to our right before, and now it's starting to turn, almost doing an eddy, and then it's going the opposite way. So I've planned my dive to get pushed back towards the shot line. And that's the end of our dive. That's the end of the 3rd dive which we done on this. I done 2, and Matt's just explaining he really enjoyed that one. So what do we do with the information we just gathered off of this dive? Well, fairly easy. We told Richard what we've seen, and then Richard decided to go to the UK and have a look in the Lloyd's missing registers. We were looking for a shipwreck around about the 1870s to 1890s. Richard went to the UK and spent absolutely hours looking for all the Lloyd's registries and finally came up with a name for us. We can now reveal that the name of the ship was the Virago, and she was lost on the 2nd or 3rd of June 1882. This was only meant to be a 2-part series, but I think I'm going to do the 3rd part series. I'm going to film the presentation we done as well with the supporting evidence of why we think this is the Virago. Okay, thanks for coming along, and I'll catch you on the next tide.